You can learn a lot about a mind by looking at what disturbs it, not what excites it, not what entertains it, but what unsettles it. When Albert Einstein was about 5 years old, his father showed him a small magnetic compass. It was an ordinary object, a round case, a thin needle, a glass cover. But something about it refused to feel ordinary, no matter how he turned it. The needle kept pointing in the same direction. He could rotate the case. He could flip it. He could tilt it. The needle trembled and then returned. There was nothing touching it, nothing pushing it, nothing visible guiding it. And yet it obeyed something. Years later, Einstein would say that this moment left a deep and lasting impression on him. He realized that something invisible was acting through empty space. That idea disturbed him, because if something unseen could influence matter, then the world was not as solid and simple as it appeared. And once that thought enters your mind, it doesn't leave easily. Most children would have played with a compass and moved on. Einstein didn't. He treated it like a problem. Why does it move? What is acting on it? Where's that force? He didn't know the word magnetic field. He didn't know Maxwell's equations. He didn't know anything about physics formally. He only knew one thing. There must be something there. That realization is subtle but powerful. It replaces magic with structure. Magic says, it happens because it happens. Structure says, it happens for a reason, even if you cannot see it yet. The compass needle was pointing north. But north wasn't inside the needle. It wasn't inside the metal at all. It was in something larger, something surrounding it, an invisible order. That idea would stay with him. Einstein grew up in Munich at a time when invisible forces were becoming central to science. Electricity, magnetism, radiation. All of them acted through space without physical contact. His father worked in electrical engineering, and the young Einstein was surrounded by talk of currents and wires and unseen flows of energy. But the compass was personal. It wasn't a theory. It was in his hand, and it refused to behave like a toy. This is important because Einstein's genius did not begin with mathematics. It began with discomfort. He could not tolerate unexplained regularity. If something behaved consistently, then there had to be a principle beneath it. Many people encounter mysteries and move on. The sun rises. Objects fall. Needles point north. That's just how the world works. Einstein couldn't accept just how. He wanted why. That instinct shaped everything that followed. Years later, when he began thinking about light, he asked a question that sounds almost childish. What would it be like to ride alongside a beam of light? It's the same disturbance. Light behaves consistently. Its speed appears constant. But why? And what does that imply about space and time? Just like the compass needle, light was insisting on something, and Einstein refused to ignore it. The compass had already taught him a lesson. If something behaves in a stubborn, lawful way, then reality is structured more deeply than it seems. The needle doesn't wander randomly. It aligns, and alignment implies order. There's another quiet detail in this story. The compass created solitude. When you realize that invisible forces govern reality, you also realize most people are not thinking about that. Life continues. School continues. Conversation continues. But inside you, something has shifted. Einstein was not known as a loud or flashy child. He was quiet, reflective, sometimes seen as slow. Teachers later described him as resistant to rote memorization. He disliked repeating information without understanding it. It wasn't rebellion for attention. It was resistance to shallow explanation. If a teacher said, "This is simply the rule," that wasn't enough. The compass had set a higher standard. If something is real, it must be explainable, not by authority, not by repetition, but by principle. As a teenager, Einstein became fascinated with geometry. He once described discovering Euclid as an experience of certainty, proofs that followed inevitably from clear assumptions. That feeling mirrored the compass. Hidden order, logical necessity, structure beneath appearance. And once you start looking for structure, you begin to distrust surface impressions. This would later matter when he confronted classical physics. In Newton's framework, space was a stage, empty, passive, absolute. Time flowed uniformly for everyone. These ideas felt obvious, but the compass had already suggested that space itself might carry properties, that empty space could transmit influence. If magnetism could act through space, what else could? Gravity? Light? The seed was planted early. The story of relativity does not begin in 1905. It begins in a child's confusion, a small needle, a silent room, a question that refused to dissolve. It's tempting to look back and say that the compass created Einstein. That would be too simple. But it oriented him, and orientation matters. A compass does not tell you where to go. It tells you where north is. The rest is up to you. In the same way, this moment did not give Einstein answers. It gave him direction toward hidden laws, toward invisible structure, toward the belief that the universe is governed by principles waiting to be understood. There's something almost poetic about it. The needle always returns to alignment after being disturbed. You can shake it. You can spin it. It wobbles, but it settles. Einstein's thinking followed the same pattern. He was willing to entertain radical ideas, but he always searched for coherence, a stable explanation that held from every perspective. And that search began with a simple refusal to accept the obvious. Most people outgrow their childhood questions. Einstein did not. He kept them. He carried them forward into adulthood, into physics, into equations that would eventually bend space and redefine time. But at the beginning, there was no fame, no Nobel Prize, no headlines, just a child holding a compass, disturbed by a needle that would not behave randomly. The needle pointed north. Einstein pointed deeper. And once he began looking beneath the surface of things, he never stopped.